Most urban legends fade. This one spread. In the 1990s, Spokane residents began reporting a man who never moved, never spoke, just smiled. Some saw him in mirrors, others in dreams. But the scariest part? They all described the same face, and the ones who smiled back, they never came home. You've heard ghost stories, but this isn't folklore. This happened. March 1991. Spokane's downtown was a skeleton of what it once was. Businesses shuttered, neon signs flickering with no customers beneath. Teenagers still dared each other to cut through the underpass near Division Street, where the homeless camps, huddled in shadows and whispers, were currency. That night, two brothers, Alex and Jacob R., took the shortcut home from the arcades. It was 10:12 p.m. when they first saw him. A man, too tall, dressed in a dark suit like he'd stepped out of a funeral. His head tilted slightly. That smile, wide, pale, unmoving. He didn't blink, Jacob later told police. Not once, just smiled. They ran, fast, but the lights behind them flickered one by one, matching their steps. When they got home, their mother was frantic. It was 1:47 a.m. They had been gone for nearly 4 hours. 2 weeks later, a local college radio DJ named Laurie James vanished. Her last known location, the booth of KSPK 103.1, broadcasting late-night conspiracy shows. At 3:06 a.m., her voice cut mid-sentence. The only thing heard after was static, followed by laughter. When co-workers arrived at 5:30, the booth door was locked from the inside. Inside, her chair overturned, coffee still steaming. No sign of struggle, no sign of her. Surveillance footage? Blank. The tape had rewound itself and recorded over the crucial hours. But one strange detail remained. On the station's whiteboard, previously wiped clean, someone had written, "Did you smile back?" A month passed, and then 3 more reports. In every case, the pattern was the same. Sightings of a tall, grinning man, always late at night, always motionless, always watching. In one instance, a city bus driver slammed on his brakes at an empty intersection. He swore he saw a man standing in the road, grinning, not moving. The strange part? Every passenger reported something different. Some saw a deer, others saw nothing. But they all agreed on one thing. Their watches stopped. Not slowed, not skipped, stopped. Time became a rumor. On April 19th, 1991, a father and son, Mark and 12-year-old Cody Allen, were testing out a new Sony Handycam in their backyard. The tape, later submitted to police, showed a typical spring afternoon. Cody bouncing a ball, Mark fumbling with the zoom. At minute 9:42, Cody pauses, looks off screen. "Dad," he says, "who's that man?" The camera jerks sideways. In the frame, a motionless figure by the neighbor's fence. Too tall, suit too clean. Face blurred, but the smile is unmistakable. Mark swears the man wasn't there a second earlier, but when they ran outside to confront him, no one was there. No footprints. That night, the tape wouldn't eject. When it finally did 2 days later, the first 5 minutes had been wiped clean, replaced with distorted audio. A voice whispering one line over and over. "Smile for the camera." Dr. Lynn Rayburn was a licensed therapist, specializing in sleep paralysis and shared delusions. In May 1991, she began treating 4 patients, all unrelated, who described identical figures in recurring dreams. A man in a black suit, too tall, too still, smiling. Each reported waking up unable to move, eyes locked on the ceiling corner where the man stood. She documented their words, compared drawings, identical. She was preparing a paper on mass hysteria when she stopped responding to her colleagues. When her assistant entered her office 2 days later, Dr. Rayburn was gone. No sign of forced entry. Her coffee had gone cold. But in the center of her desk, a post-it note in her handwriting. It read, "He followed me home." That June, a transient man named Richard Bell checked into room 306 at the Evergreen Motor Inn. The next morning, he was found standing in the room's corner, eyes wide open, unmoving, breathing but catatonic. Authorities found the room in disarray, bed torn apart, TV smashed. On the walls, scribbled in black marker, repeated over and over, "He smiles when you look, he smiles when you look, he smiles when you look." Richard never spoke again, but sometimes, late at night, when the nurses turned their backs, he'd grin. By late June 1991, Detective Aaron Nash had enough. 5 incident reports, 3 disappearances, 0 explanations. He pulled a file from the archives, one marked unsubstantiated. It contained sketches, descriptions, dates going back to 1962, same city, same figure, always grinning, always just standing. Nash requested surveillance, one camera facing Riverfront Park, where the most sightings had occurred. The camera ran from dusk to dawn. On July 1st, it recorded nothing unusual, until Nash reviewed the frame-by-frame footage. At exactly 3:33 a.m. for one frame, a man appeared, centered, facing the lens, in a suit, smiling. No transition in, no transition out, just one frame. Then gone. July 9th, 1991. 10-year-old Emily Warren vanished from her backyard in the East Central neighborhood. No signs of struggle. Her bike lay on its side. 42 hours later, she was found, sitting calmly on her porch swing. But she didn't recognize her parents, called them the wrong faces. Her clothes were clean, too clean, not the ones she wore when she disappeared. Doctors could find no injuries, but her pupils were fully dilated, even under bright light. She repeated one sentence until sedated. "He asked me to smile, so I did." That night, she stopped talking. Her parents woke up at 2:11 a.m. to find every mirror in the house had cracked. Inward. Desperate for answers, Detective Nash brought in a psychic named Loretta Kane, well known for helping on missing persons cases in the Pacific Northwest. She insisted on going alone to the last confirmed sighting near Finch Arboretum. She brought a Polaroid camera. 20 minutes later, she ran from the forest, vomiting, shaking. She never returned to law enforcement work, but she gave Nash the photo. It showed a thicket of trees. Between the branches, unmistakably, a face. Not looking at the camera, looking past it, smiling at someone behind the lens. That night, Nash developed tremors in his left hand. He never recovered full motor control. On August 2nd, 1991, a man named Vincent Harker checked himself into Sacred Heart Medical Center. He was smiling, constantly, not laughing, not joking, just smiling. Nurses noted his lips were cracked, bleeding slightly from being stretched too long. When asked what happened, he whispered, "He told me a joke. I didn't get it, but I had to laugh." Vincent claimed to see something in reflective surfaces, not his own face, but a taller figure standing behind him. Doctors diagnosed acute psychosis, but after 3 days, every reflective surface in his room, mirror, window, IV pump screen, developed hairline cracks. On the 4th day, he carved something into his own arm with a plastic fork. Just one word: smile. He died of a seizure that night. There were no signs of neurological distress before it hit. Only that grin, frozen in place. On August 15th, dispatch received a frantic 911 call from a woman in the West Hills neighborhood. Screaming, rambling. She claimed someone had been standing outside her window all night, smiling, motionless. "He never knocked," she said. "He's not doing anything. He just wants me to look." The call lasted 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Then silence. Then a burst of static. Then breathing. Just one slow inhale. And a whisper, "Why aren't you smiling?" When police arrived, the house was empty. Dinner on the table, TV still playing static. No signs of struggle, no exit, no footprints. The curtains in the living room, however, were drawn shut from the outside. In early September, construction workers renovating a condemned house near the South Hill district discovered an old shoebox in the basement. Inside, a moldy VHS tape labeled "Watch Me" in smeared marker. The footage showed a family Christmas from 1988. Standard stuff. Kids opening gifts, a father filming, mother laughing. But at 12 minutes in, behind the tree, a tall man in a dark suit, not moving, not acknowledged. He appears for just 3 seconds. In those seconds, he blinks, but not slowly, not casually. One frame his eyes are open, the next, shut, then open, 3 times, deliberate, focused, as if he saw whoever was watching now. The workers who found the tape refused to take it home. It was left with the foreman. He burned it in a barrel out back. The fire turned blue. In October 1991, local journalist Cora Bennett began investigating the growing reports of the Smiling Man. She collected police logs, interviewed frightened witnesses, and even obtained the altered camcorder footage from Scene 4. Then she noticed something odd. Her reflection began to lag, first just a second behind, then several, until one night the reflection didn't return at all. She looked in the mirror and saw her bathroom. Empty. No reflection. Just movement. From the far side, a hand, long-fingered and still, gripping the counter. Her camera snapped once before the mirror shattered. The photo was undeveloped, but the negative showed something impossible. A man in a suit, standing where she should have been, grinning. In November, first-grade teacher Denise Holloway noticed a disturbing pattern in her class's art. Nearly every child drew a tall man in black, standing in corners or behind trees, always smiling, always watching. One child, Mason R., refused to speak for a week after drawing his. When asked what the man did, Mason whispered, "He told me to draw him again, and again, or he'd be mad." That night, Denise stayed late to clean the classroom. On Mason's desk, a new crayon drawing, the same man, but this time arms outstretched, welcoming, waiting. The chalkboard behind her read a phrase written in a child's hand, "Smile back and he'll come inside." There was no chalk dust on her hands, but the sleeves of her coat were smudged. On December 5th, a man named Todd Cleary called into a late-night radio program. The host asked about urban legends. Todd laughed. "He's real," he said. "You just have to say the line and mean it." When pressed, he repeated, "Smile back and he'll come inside." The call cut off. 3 days later, Todd was found in his apartment. Every window had been covered in mirrors. Each mirror showed something different, not reflections, but scenes, a hallway, a basement, a schoolroom, in all of them. A smiling man standing still, watching. Todd had slashed a message into his wooden floor, deep, deliberate. He lives in the places we don't look. In early January 1992, a patient named Carrie Phelps was admitted to a Spokane sleep clinic for intense night terrors. She screamed in her sleep, clawed at unseen figures, and spoke in full sentences. "He's behind the curtain. Don't smile. He wants teeth." Doctors wired her for a full overnight study. At 2:11 a.m., her vitals spiked. Her eyes moved rapidly beneath closed lids. The audio captured something strange, her voice, and another, deeper, unhuman, smiling. "She sees now," it said. So I see too. On video playback, her sleeping face smiled, but only for 3 frames. In those frames, her mouth twisted into a perfect, unnatural grin. Her eyes, still shut, wept. When she awoke, she begged to be sedated. She never returned. The footage was accidentally erased. The technician claimed the file blinked. A family in the Lincoln Heights neighborhood requested a house blessing. Doors creaked open on their own. Mirrors cracked at night. Their son drew the smiling man over and over. Father Miguel Ochoa agreed to visit. He entered the house at noon. Calm, faithful, confident. He left 15 minutes later, pale and silent. "I won't step foot inside again," he said. When pressed, he offered one cryptic line. "That thing, it doesn't flee the cross. It mimics it." Days later, the family moved. A photo was found on the floor, left behind in a cracked frame. A family portrait, but behind the mother, a tall figure, too tall, wearing black, smiling, and holding a small wooden crucifix, upside down. Only one known witness ever escaped him, and remembered. Her name was Lacey Grinnell. In 1992, she was 19, living alone above an old bakery in Brown's Addition. She began seeing him in her dreams, first behind glass, then in the hallway, then he was inside. "He never moves," she said, "but he gets closer." One night she found a note in her own handwriting. "Don't smile. Don't speak. Burn the eyes." She blacked out every photo in her apartment, burned mirrors in the alley. She cut the eyes out of her own paintings. And he stopped. Or so she thinks. She still lives alone. But she covers her cameras, hangs sheets over windows, paints over her own reflection. Her final words in the interview, "You can survive him, but you'll never smile again." Not really. In March 1992, local historian Dr. Gregory Lunt reached out to Detective Nash with findings from old city ledgers. He had noticed a strange pattern. Every 20 to 30 years, Spokane experienced a cluster of disappearances. Children, loners, night workers, all without resolution. In 1931, a librarian wrote in her margin notes, "Too tall, too still, too happy. That man does not blink." In 1957, a boy vanished from his front porch. His sister, 6 at the time, was found in shock, repeating, "He smiled at me. Mommy told me not to smile back." Dr. Lunt showed Nash a sketch from 1910, found in a sealed archive, a charcoal drawing. The same man, same grin, same suit, no eyes. Written beneath in fading ink, "He is patient. He does not move. He waits until we look." On April 4th, 1992, a town hall was held at Lewis and Clark High School to discuss recent disappearances. Over 70 citizens gathered, witnesses, skeptics, and law enforcement. The meeting started normally. Questions, concern. Then, mid-sentence, the speaker froze, and everyone, every single person, turned to face the same corner of the room. Nothing was there. Nothing should have been there. For 43 seconds, the entire room stood, eyes fixed, unmoving. One man cried blood from his tear ducts. Another bit through his own tongue. Then it stopped. No one remembered it happening, but the CSPAN recording caught everything, except one glitch. At the 22:19 mark, the camera distorts, and for a single frame, a tall figure can be seen in the corner, grinning, facing the crowd. In May, a small documentary crew began filming a piece on the Spokane urban legend. Lead videographer Marcus Dean set up static cameras across various hotspots: the bridge, the arboretum, old school buildings. He left a camera rolling overnight on the hill where the camcorder incident occurred, scene 4. Reviewing footage the next day, he noticed a moment at 4:06 a.m. The sound dropped out. The visual flickered. And then, in perfect focus, Marcus himself appeared in frame, standing, facing the camera, smiling. But Marcus hadn't been there. He was asleep at home, verified by his girlfriend and call records. When he paused the footage, the version of him on the screen blinked, then stepped forward. Then the screen went black. The file was corrupted. The last saved frame is still on his desktop. No one opens it. 1992, an anonymous tip led Detective Nash and a small team to a ravine behind the old riverfront cement plant, the site of multiple early sightings. There, they found a crude circle of mirrors, 9 of them, facing inward, candles, long burned out. In the dirt, words scratched over and over, "Smile back and he leaves." A camcorder was left on a rock, battery dead. When recharged, it showed only static. And one moment, a figure entering the circle. But the figure wasn't reflected in any mirror, just empty frames. Until the figure smiled. Then, one by one, the mirrors cracked inward. The screen cut to black. The camera caught audio as the man walked away. His shoes never made a sound, but the grin was audible. In 2005, 13 years after the last official report, a package arrived at a local Spokane TV station addressed to whoever tells the stories. Inside, a burned CD, a paper slip with only 2 words, "Your turn." The disc contained a video, static, then dozens of clips from different years, different formats, different people, but always the same frame, him, watching. One clip showed a child smiling, turning to the camera, whispering, "He wants you next." The last frame, a grainy frieze of the current narrator, you, seated at their desk, except the image was from a higher angle, an angle they never recorded. In the reflection of the monitor behind them, barely visible, a tall man, smiling. There is no record of when he arrived. There was never a door, only a look, a glance, a moment where your attention shifted. They say he only ever blinks once, to mark the end, and when he does, you'll know it, not by the motion, but by the sensation that someone else just opened their eyes. Somewhere, right now, a mirror you haven't looked at lately is cracked, not broken, just waiting, because the smile is spreading, and he only needs you to notice, just once. You might be thinking, Link, it's just a story. But right now, somewhere, someone just saw him, in their hallway, in a reflection they weren't looking for. And he's still smiling. If this story made you check behind you, hit like. If you made it to the end, leave a comment and tell us what you saw. And next time, we'll tell you about the apartment that started talking back.